What makes you think that you could that you could pull off plaid? I'll never understand it. I just
Uh,
don't get it.
you know, the reason that I'm wearing this today is
Where's your
because
Megadad
everything is
subscription?
dirty.
So you
Everything is
resorted to
dirty,
plaid.
and it's like 40 below outside, and I'm in the lower level of my house, which means it's like 50 below in here. So I needed
Whoa.
something warm, and I needed something clean, and this is what I got.
That's what I told the judge. I'm like, I needed something warm. I
Needed
needed
something
something.
warm.
He's like, I don't care. It was against the law. You have 30 days. We'll see you next month. I said, what?
Megadads Live is a mature-rated podcast. It's for the Megadads, the Mega Moms, but not the Mega Kids. So put on those earmuffs and let's go!
Xbox Developer Direct 2024 is kicking off the year by getting people all excited for what's to come in this seems to be jam-packed calendar. So, if I'm not mistaken, they said ahead of time that they were going to have 4 games and ended up talking about 5. I could be wrong about that. But if you're not familiar, they showed Avowed, so the action RPG first person from Obsidian, Visions of Mana, which is a remake of a classic JRPG, actually a continuation and brand new game in the JRPG Mana game franchise. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is a mostly first person, third person action type thing. Senua Saga, Senua's Senua Saga Hellblade 2, the new one that's been showed a billion times. And then I don't think that they gave a heads up about Ara History Untold, which is like a civilization-like 4X strategy game. So they came out the gate and they said, here's what we got coming. Most of it coming in the first half of 2024, some coming in fall. Interesting. I wanted to know what Adam thought about what he saw. Now, if I understood correctly, you didn't watch live. You watched some of the recap. I got that right?
I ended up watching the entire. Well, okay. I watched most of the recap. I
Caught him in a lie.
I
caught him in a lie. Everybody, you heard it here.
A couple of things, and we'll go through it as we go into it. But I did end up watching the whole thing, not live. And I want to preface my takes as, for people who don't know, I do not own an Xbox. I have not played in the Xbox ecosystem for a long time. I also do not plan on getting an Xbox. So my opinions, you can take them with as much salt as you want. The first thing I want to say is I'm not a fan of the style of the showcase. It was very deep divey in a way that kind of bored me, I guess. There wasn't enough sizzle in front of all these conversations about the game. It was very deep and nuanced, and I think for people who are very excited about these games, it's probably really appreciated. For me, I wanted something like that popped, something that's hot, to say this is why you want an Xbox, and I felt like this was a little too low key to do that for me. Do we want to go through each game one by one?
Well,
how do we want to?
On that note, this whole concept of let's let the developer talk, I've been on the record saying I hate it. It's like, if I want to hear about a game, same as you, I want a sizzle trailer, and maybe you can talk a little bit about like what you're showing me. But like, they get really deep and into the philosophy of why they made it.
They get
their journey.
Yeah,
this is how much effort has been put into
Yes.
it. Marketing speak.
Yes,
marketing speak.
They get deep in a way that's more personal and not necessarily about the game. Like, so for instance, for Avowed, they were talking to one guy and he was talking about, personally, the place that I love in the game the most is this and this and this. And he's talking about what he's bringing, like his feelings to the game. But it's like, we haven't, as a viewer or as a player, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't know what makes this location special. You talk about all the love and affection you have for this area that you've built, but I don't even know what that is yet. And it felt weird. Like
Yeah.
it felt like they didn't give me a chance to get excited about the game before they started telling me why I should be emotionally invested in the journey of creating the game.
This concept has must have something to do with someone somewhere believing that if I make a connection with the developer, I have more of a loyalty for them, or I want to support their game more, or I think it brings meaning to it. I like diving deep like that after I experience a game.
Right.
So when I played Pillars of Eternity 2, I started learning about the developer more on my own. There was a book Jason Schreier had made about like the development of the game, videos, behind the scenes. That's when I kind of go deeper into, after the fact. But this whole concept has always been odd to me. That being said, I thought that this had a brevity to it and the way they chopped it up where I didn't mind it this time. And I actually, when like you were saying, he was talking about this area of the game, I thought it was just short enough where he's bringing himself into it, but then it goes kind of right into showing the gameplay. So I like tolerated it and I was like, okay, you're talking, but you're also showing at the same time.
Sure.
And everything you're saying, you're showing me something new. Now, what I hate is when they've shown it before and then it's like, hey, look at this game footage you've seen like yet again. I was pleasantly surprised by the format, and I think this is the best developer focused format that I've seen so far. I don't think it's necessary in general, but I wouldn't mind it if they kept it brief like this.
Is this their standard showcase format now? Like, I'm not really sure. Like, is this how they do all of them now?
I wouldn't say that they've done this more than a few times.
Okay.
So I would say that it's safe to say they plan to keep doing it in this way. I remember there being at least 2 others, but I would have to go back and research because I kind of remember the graphics and a little bit of the format in that way that they've done it. So I don't know. I don't like the Nintendo Directs. I don't like the developer Directs completely. I don't like the blogs. Just bring back E3. Anyway, continuing on.
Just bring it back. So let's talk about the games that they showed off. All right.
You don't care about Visions of Mana very much, right? You don't like JRPGs just in general, would you say? Or you're not a Mana fan?
I've only played one game in this series, and it was the first one on the Super Nintendo. But I honestly thought this was one of the better games of the showcase. I thought it looked pretty damn cool. Yeah.
Yeah, the visually Visions of Mana is impressive. I think that, and they talk about this, is the legacy of the Mana franchise. They seem to be taking very seriously. And I think that's what you want. That's what fans would want. I've seen like reaction videos of people who are deep Mana fans and them just going crazy when you realize, wait, this was not just a remaster of a game. This is a new game. And they're bringing fresh ideas, blending it with the old. And I think that that's an exciting thing because what do we know? Remasters are happening left, right, and center. So like a new entry in a franchise was surely unexpected. And it looks beautiful. I'm excited for it. It's not on Game Pass, if I'm not mistaken. This one is Xbox, not on Game Pass, though. But we'd have to like go in and figure that out. But yeah, Mana, I would say, would be on the bottom of my list.
Visually very, very satisfying. Like the colors and character design and stuff. It just looks
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it looks great.
Absolutely. One of the most surprising games for me, honestly, was Ara History Untold. I do like the Civilization 4X strategy games, and I've only played a couple because it's a very complex game type. It's very niche, and if you're not familiar with those game types, one of the things that really pulled you in about this was how beautiful and intricate the game world looks. So similar to like a Sim City or something like that, you'll see buildings pop up and little characters run around, and your top down view, like God view down. This game is so more advanced than like a City Skylines or a Civilization, or like the Rome franchise or Total War. Like, it looked really good when you look down at these buildings. Like, there's like like sheep and animals all over the place, and then like, farmers or like, and fences, and it doesn't look like it is on a grid system, but it looks very organic, and there's a lot of detail for like small animals or construction happening, and the and the building and the architecture looks really vibrant and unique, and it just blew me away. Again, you'd have to see this game side by side with others in the genre to kind of understand how impressive it looks. Is really what got me by surprise, because of all these games, for me to walk away saying that Ara looked good, I'm like very, very impressed. Have you played Civilization, Civ, or even a Sim City and stuff like that?
I've been so out of touch with these kind of games for so long, just because of the investment that they take. I always look at games like Cities, and I download them because they're free on the thing, and then I look at like how it actually plays. I'm like, I can't. I love that these games exist, and I think this looks really, really good. But I just recognize that it's a game that I don't have a space in my life for.
Understood. Yeah.
There are some
these games take a long time to play.
Well,
like,
and
these games last hours.
And it's not even just the fact that like they take so long, but like, I know I would feel obligated to invest so much time because I'd want to lose myself in it, right? Yeah. It's the same reason why I don't play stuff like Minecraft, because I know that I would lose myself forever in it, because I'd want to do all the things as perfectly as I can. So like, I think it looks great. It's not for me in a way that I don't think it looks good. It's not for me in a way that I just don't think it would fit into my life, but it looks very impressive.
If they nail the combat, which tends to be like a miss in these like 4X strategy games, it could be see, these games are so niche, but it could be a new revitalization and setting the bar for these types of games anew. There's a gameplay clip that I'm watching of like a Roman Colosseum, and there's actual like horse racing happening like in real time in this Colosseum, and I'm like, my mind is just blown. The graphics that they've unleashed on us here.
You know what's interesting is like this game in particular really illustrates how each of the three pillars does something completely different than the other. Like, Microsoft really has a focus on presenting games like this, games like Flight Simulator, and pushing them to the forefront. Like, they put the spotlight on this game for a reason. And the other two don't really have games like this in the same way, in the same prominence. So it's not a game for me, but I really respect the fact that that's part of their brand. Like, this is part of who Xbox is.
Oh yeah, it's a variety bag at Xbox. Something for everyone, as they say. Let's talk about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I want to hear what Adam has to say about it, because you kind of look like Indiana Jones to me. Maybe it's just I feel like
old Indy or young Indy.
Almost dead Indy. I'm sorry. I thought it was great. The most impressive thing, obviously, I think, were the facial animations and the voice work. What did you think of this?
I am so conflicted in how I feel about Indiana Jones and the big circle jerk. I was so excited because I'm like, this is either going to hit like a way that nothing has, or it's going to be an absolute dumpster fire cringe fest.
Yes.
And it, for me, somehow is both. in the way that, like, visually it looks fucking fantastic. They nailed Harrison Ford in the way that, like, it looks like him, but it also looks like a video game. Like, it isn't like realistic, ultra realistic, but like it's him as a video game character.
Yep.
But then you hear the voice work, and like I'm listening to it, and I'm like, that really sounds a lot like Harrison Ford.
I thought it was him.
But I also immediately knew it wasn't Harrison Ford, if that makes sense. Like, it sounded like what it is, a really great impersonation. But as good as that impersonation is, I can't hear it without knowing it's not him.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I
So
hear
it's
ya.
like, it's really close, but it almost makes it more hard to listen to because it's very close, but it's very much it's not him. So like, I don't know how you do that, and that's kind of where I was like really interested in this game. Is like, are they gonna make it Harrison Ford, or are they gonna make it just Indiana Jones and like as cast by like a different person? And they tried to do it as Harrison Ford, and it looks like him and it sounds like him, but it's also obviously not him. And that's like a weird brain busty what do they call that? Uncanny Valley kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's more about the voice to me than it is about the look. Like, I'm totally fine with the look. It's the voice where it's like, that sounds so close, but it's not.
The other thing you talked about was the perspective.
Yeah.
Because what do we know? We know that these type of action games, if you look at Tomb Raider, Uncharted, you look at their third person, and that kind of fits the bill really, really, really well.
Yeah.
So if you go to the Tomb Raider games, it's like you're jumping and climbing and traversing, and it goes right into like an axe thing, or, you know, a bow and arrow, right? Very cool.
Yeah.
Uncharted, you have that punching that looks sloppy but realistic, and like, you know, you're climbing down and you're seeing things.
You're using the environment.
They've chosen to pull the camera back in this game when you're climbing a ladder. And then when you're fighting, it's like first person with your whip and fist. What do you think, Adam?
It makes... Okay.
Take the gloves off, Adam. What the fuck?
Hot take.
What the fuck are we doing here?
Let's do it.
What the fuck are we doing here?
What are we doing here? Fucking tell them.
We know that this is a bad move when they kick this. They almost start the presentation by trying to explain why they did it.
Yeah.
And it is exactly the same thing as Avatar, which we talked about in the last episode of Mega Dads Live, where they're justifying it in a very bizarre way. Like, we want you to feel like you are Indiana Jones, except when you're doing like the important shit, like the story, the cutscenes will be third person, or except when you're like swinging on your whip, that'll be third person, and except when you're like climbing up walls and stuff, that'll be third. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? If you have the ability to have this game be in third person, same with you, Avatar. The coolest part of Avatar is flying the fucking banshees. They put it in third person. So you have the ability to have this game be completely third person. Give us a choice. If people want to play it first person, fine. They can play it first person. Give us that option. Give us that choice. It is so weird that they force you into this perspective, except at moments where they think it's important that you're not in that perspective. I think that's the part that bothers me the most. It's like, if you're going to do it, do it. If you're going to be first person, be first person. This whole pulling it back at the points where they think it doesn't work to be in first person shows to me that this game shouldn't be in first person. Like, if swinging on the whip only works in third person, then just make the game in third fucking person.
So are you ready for like a bit of a mind-blowing thing already? So this is a little snippet from IGN that was an impressions after seeing the reveal. So the first person perspective, in hindsight, it makes a lot of sense. This person says because the developer Machine Games' entire catalog is first person. So Wolfenstein, various other expansion packs. This is what they do. Um, and the incredible original Xbox exclusive the team made back together when they were at Starbreeze was Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay. So what's going on here is if you ever played the game like Condemned, Criminal Origins, or Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay, they had this first person that worked out really well, and it was very immersive and brutal and kind of like you were there. And the combat with the fists and with the shanks and with all of that, it really worked, and it was very compelling. If they reach those heights of first person, great. Here's what's bothering me. When they showed the combat, they showed the most weak whip I've ever seen. Like, it looked like
It looks bad.
like it looked terrible. Like he goes like this, and it did like I could see like imagine God of War. You give Kratos a whip, how it would look when he whips, like the chains and stuff, like boom and hits, and then it pulls them. Like they would have this great interactivity between the whip and the thing. It looks so janky when he like kind of awkwardly goes like this. It doesn't even look like a whip is what's happening. Now, had they shown the gameplay and it was like whoop-ah, and he like hits someone's like helmet off, and then he like starts to choke him with the thing and then pulls him toward it, none of that shit was happening, which makes me think that they decided on the first person. They knew they had to have the whip, and they're like, this is the best we could do.
I think
If they had
I think it's
Come
such
on.
a I think it's such a bullshit cop out to say this game should be in first person because this developer makes first person games.
the fists looked good, the whip didn't look good.
It-
But then you get into, do I want to fight with my fists for an entire game like that again?
Well, that's just it.
I'm
Like
not sure.
Indiana Jones, when I think of Indiana Jones, I think of big adventure. I think of him crawling up giant statues or getting thrown into snake pits or
More
swinging across
platforming,
traps and things like
more
that.
action.
None of that is going to be fun in first person. And
Yeah, and then they're gonna keep pulling the camera out if you do that.
Right.
Like, Tomb Raider, the traversal. Oh, let me see if I could climb and find that here. What's in this cavern? Like, I just get bad vibes that they tried to get away from a lot of things. Some people were like, "Oh, why do you want another third-person Uncharted like?" I'm like, since when was making an Uncharted like game all of a sudden bad? Like, this is what they've been wanting. Like, just do it. Like,
And
make a
third person
Tomb Raider
doesn't-
again.
I say third person doesn't even necessarily have to be one thing or another, but having the ability to control the camera, like like environmental puzzle solving, which is what you're going to be doing in this game, you're going to want to experience that from that grand sense, not like through the eyes of, I don't know. It's just like
Are
when I
the
think
puzzles gonna be good, Adam? They better be. Because
I don't
if
know.
not,
Like I
they
mean,
better be. We're judging a lot based on what we've seen.
right.
It's
And it's-
worrying.
And it's coming from a guy
worrying.
who doesn't like first person games. So like I get it. I get
I
it.
want somebody to defend that whip animation and how the whip looked. If you walk away from that saying they nailed the whip, then you didn't watch what I watched. So that's all I have to say about it.
I don't think this is going to be a bad game. I think this is going to be a great game. I really do. I think this is going to be a great game. I think it's going to be the exact same experience that I had with Avatar, where it's like, I'm enjoying this. This is good. But goddamn, I really wish that I could pull back and like really the sense that you experience the world like you're in it better because your first perspective is just wrong. Indiana Jones is a property that's based on a movie. A movie is presented where you see the character on screen and you can pull back and see his relation to the world. And I
Wow.
think for a cinematic experience, you want that same feeling where you can pull back, you can be the director and have your character in the world and have more control on the cinematic experience. And I just think it is a flawed concept that the only way or the best way that you can feel immersed in a world is that you have to be first person. I just think that's a flawed idea.
Yeah. Next one was Hellblade 2. They've shown this game too much, Adam. They've shown it way too much for way too long. I think it went through a lot of changes. It's drop down, gorgeous looking. The actress who plays Senua is amazing. The mocap and like the facial animations, stunning. The story, I played. I think I just barely didn't finish the last like part of Hellblade 1, and mostly because I'm turned off by this, like kind of when we talked about Beast False Prophet. This is a dark game. It's almost incredibly dark. It's almost too dark. Like it's all about like anguish and darkness and what do you call this, where there's like cultists and skulls everywhere,
Yeah.
whatever that is. Like it's bothering me a little bit because I feel like I can't breathe with all, and then they make the most intense trailers ever. So I fast forwarded through this quite a bit when I watched. What do you think of Hellblade 2? Are you excited for it? It's a shorter experience, as they have admittedly said. With a, if you get it outside of Game Pass, it's going to be, you know, a little cheaper. I think a $40 to $50 price tag they put on it. What do you think?
This is the one that I skipped.
Skip.
Like you, I did not play the first one, but like you, everything I see about this one makes me feel icky.
Yeah.
It's like
Torture yourself a little bit by being in the shoes of someone who's going through the shit. You know what I mean?
And like, again, I'm a guy who plays horror games. I'm a guy that plays like violent, dark games, but there's something about the tone of Hellblade that always felt like it didn't feel like it would be something that I enjoyed. It feels like it's a game about misery in a way, you know, like a game about suffering, or I don't know. There's just something about the vibe of it does not appeal to me. Like, it's fucking gorgeous. It looks great. Everybody says it's an amazing game with a fantastic storyline, and that very well may be, but it just doesn't feel like a world that I want to be in.
The combat is really what's going to do it for me, because the puzzle element of the first game, which was like one of the 10 poles it stood on, it was not fun at all for me to do those puzzles. The combat was exciting, and it was very visceral, and the perspective, the very like you're right here, third person was great, and the animations, and they've really bumped that up. Like, it looks insane when you're fighting in these close quarters with like by the torchlight. It looks great, and then the visuals dropped at amazing. So it has potential. I just think that this game is struggling to find an established franchise identity. Like, what type of game is this? Is it an action game? No. Is it narrative? Very much narrative focused. It's very niche in what it's doing. You know, it's like an experience almost. The combat in the first one wasn't that deep, so it was just kind of there. But it helped drive the story along. It was all about the story. And then I felt like when they hit this part 2, they're like, okay, what are we gonna do? Make the combat better, deepen that. But I feel like it might be missing something. Again, judging it, we've seen it a lot. Yeah. I just see the pillars being, looks great, story focused. The combat's gonna be better, but maybe not amazing. So I don't know.
They're hedging a lot of their bets on this game. They show it all the time.
All the time. Way too much. It better be great now that they've shown it so much, or else this narrative of like, why'd you hype it up so much? Like, they must have shown, I must have seen this 6 times, like in this same type of depth. So we shall see. Finally, wrapping it up. Avowed is an action first-person RPG in a fantasy land that is by an acclaimed developer responsible for Fallout New Vegas. We have Obsidian, and they are masters of their craft when they have the proper time, and they're not constrained with their vision. And this might be a success story in the making, because people are hyped about it, and based on seeing it, I walk away not worried about what they've done. They're Art style's good. The combat looks fairly deep. The newness of it, how it feels fresh, because you can make just another fantasy game. But I thought that the biomes and the way that the magic looks was all really decent, and it's coming finally after being hotly anticipated. What did you think of Avowed when you saw it?
I think this looks pretty fucking rad. I love the visuals. I love the graphics are just crisp and bright. Like the worlds and the characters look fresh and vibrant, I guess. I feel like I'm Gordon Ramsay talking about food right now, but like I was just refreshed by how it looked. Now, this is a game I ain't mad about being in first person. I think this is going to be pretty slick. I love the dual wielding of the different weapons, the emphasis on the fact that you can mix and match
Oh yeah.
your loadout. Like you can have a wand in each hand or like a heavy shield and like this looks really cool. I feel like I don't know enough about the story or the world, I guess. I mean, they talked a lot about like the world in respect to the environments and stuff like that, but I don't really know what this game is quote unquote about. But it does look like a world that'll be really fun to get lost in.
Yeah, it looks good. The three words they want you to come away with saying is it's colorful, vibrant, and strange. And that's a good mix for an RPG, I would say. If you notice the enemies, they have a lot up their sleeve when it comes to the enemy design. The reason I say that is what they do show, you could see the potential right there. Like the goblins or what the lizard people, I should say, that you're fighting have like headdresses and stuff like that on them, which you already know, like, okay, so that means that these headdresses and stuff might be able to come off. We haven't really seen the faces of the races of all of them, but we can see that there seems to be this lizard race. There also seems to be this kind of lizard fish like scales to people. There's a bear in a screenshot that I'm looking at that is like corrupted with like a moss or bubbly bulbous like infection of some type, and that weirdness, that like extra layer of graphics, the way that the vines kind of overtake certain areas and look like twisted, and the way the light comes through on plants, like these are the things that make it seem fresh, and I'm looking forward to it very much. I'm not one for like, I need choice in my games, I need my dialogue shit to matter. It's nice, but they definitely push that as well, and they're known for that. So you can see the Fallout New Vegas vibe of like, oh, here's my choices, here's the faction I'm siding with, here's the people I'm helping or betraying, and that's going to be in there too, which is great. But like you, the most exciting thing was like, freeze them, then break them, you know, like that's awesome. It seems like a power fantasy, which is great. Did you see the image that they released with the skeleton holding the sword?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's hot, Adam.
This is so like I'm a dude who I don't like Fallout because it's too much. Like it's too much. And I don't think I've ever played an Obsidian game. They made Grounded, they made Outer Worlds, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't think I've ever played one of their games, but this was the one out of the whole showcase I was like, that wowed me, I guess. I was expecting to be blown away by Indiana Jones, but I was not expecting to be blown away by this. And I was, I think it's just like that visual design, that world design really captivated me. They really present a pleasing aesthetic. For a guy who does not like first-person games, this looks like one I would definitely play.
Well, they also have the Outer Worlds 2 coming out, which had a very funny teaser at least a year or two ago. I believe it was teased. And Obsidian has also done Pentiment, which was that kind of hand-drawn art style Renaissance mystery narrative focused game. Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire is a fantasy CRPG, which was fantastic.
They're busy over there.
Yeah, they did South Park Stick of Truth.
Okay. I have played one of their games.
And yeah, so they've done a lot of stuff, which has been really good. So again, hot. It's hot coming out, and it was probably maybe my second favorite game that I had seen. So Xbox Developer Direct, I'd give a solid B.
Mm-hmm.
2. Yep. I thought it was very decent for what they showed.
Hey everyone, we want to take a quick time out to let you know all about Megadads Plus. Plus is a subscription service that helps us to continue to create new and engaging content here at Megadads for all of you. If you enjoy any of our content, whether it's Megadads Live, Megadads Checkpoint, our Megadads Reviews, or any of our other daily content drops, we truly appreciate if you would show your support by becoming a member of Megadads Plus. Paid subscriptions start as low as $1 a month, and it's completely commitment-free, so you can opt in or out at any time. As we enter our 10th year of doing Megadads, as a truly independent media company, we continue to look to you, our viewers and listeners, to help us keep this train firmly on the tracks. Please consider checking out patreon.com/Megadads and consider pledging your support for only $1 a month. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Watch out! Enemies there!
I have been playing Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Now, this
Ubisoft
is
game.
a Ubisoft game. We got a code from our Ubisoft PR folks, and to set up this game and my thoughts on this game, I love the movies. My son loves the movies. We're big fans of this franchise. Really enjoy it. Very much looking forward to playing in this world. And my biggest hesitation going into it was the fact that it is a first-person game. Now, this is not going to be an issue for a lot of people. Antonio is a big first-person.
But you hate those.
I, for the most part, do not like playing in first person at all. If I get an option, like in a Skyrim or whatever, like I will immediately give me third person all day long. And I think they shoehorned themselves into first person. They set this narrative that we are doing it so that you feel like you are completely surrounded in Pandora. You feel immersed, like you are one with the world. And that's a choice. Like that's a design choice, but it's a very perplexing one, especially when the game repeatedly takes you out of that immersive experience. And I'll give you an example. The game is rife with cutscenes, and all the cutscenes are presented in first person perspective, just like you are, it's just like another beat to you playing the game. However, every time one of these cutscenes happens, it fades to black from you playing it and then fades in to the cutscene, which again is from a first person perspective. So it's just creating this huge visual cue that you're not having a seamless experience, right? Like if they wanted to have that cutscene in-game engine, you just walk right up to it and it happens, okay. But every time you have a narrative cutscene, you'll walk, let's say, you'll walk into this big facility, you'll see the character you're going to talk to, you walk up to them, fade to black, fade back in, right exactly where you are, and cutscene that you have no control over. So it's just jarring. It's just a weird presentation choice that you can't help but feel like it's fighting against itself, right? Like they want to have this experience where you're in it and it's seamless. You are this character. Forget you're playing a game. fade to black. It's just weird, and I can't get over it. And I fired this game up, and it does that bizarre thing that a lot of these first-person games do, like Destiny and all that stuff. And it's like, we want you to spend a good 10 minutes designing your character. You can change their eye shape, the texture of the patterns on their skin, the hair, how tall they are, their like everything. And then you never see it unless you go into photo mode or you ride a mount, which the coolest part of this game is flying a Banshee. You get your own Banshee, and then it pulls out to third-person perspective. Why is that part third person? The coolest thing you can do in the game goes into third person view mode, right? And it's strange, it's bonkers, it's disjointed.
Yeah.
But I love this game. I really like it. I've got the negative stuff out of the way here. And now I want to talk about what this game does well, because it does a lot really well. It utilizes the property very well, and it leans into that fucking generic Ubisoft template of you got your outposts with the bad guys and stuff, but it works so well with this property because you're in Pandora. You're a freedom fighter trying to fight against the humans who have come and terraformed your planet. And like the outposts are these big facilities and industrial plants. And as you approach them, the air becomes thick with pollution and there's debris and garbage everywhere. And you fight these guys that are in like their mech suits from the movies and stuff, and there's the big flying helicopter machines and all that stuff, all the stuff from the movies in there, and it feels so good. You can either use your bow and arrow, which feels incredibly powerful because you tower over the humans, because the avatars are like fucking 9 feet tall, right? And you feel that weight as you were playing the game, and you shoot an arrow into this puny little human and you watch him fucking fly back 10 feet. Like, you feel really strong. And then as the game goes on, you equip more human weapons. Like, you get machine guns and rocket launchers and grenades and stuff like that. And that all feels really good. And then you destroy these outposts and nature starts to reclaim the land. And that's how you regain your territory. Like, the land starts to heal, the clouds go away, the sky clears up, all this stuff. And that just works really, like, that formula works really well with this IP. So like the whole time you feel like you're not just clearing out the bad guys, but you're actually healing Pandora, which is really what these Avatar movies are all about. It's like the balance with nature and trying to be good stewards of your land and all that stuff. And I think that works really well in this game. The cutscenes are pre-baked, but they're really cool. Like, you meet really interesting characters and you go up to the cliffs and I don't know if you guys are fans of the movies at all, but you got to go and you got to get your own Banshee. You got to climb the floating islands to get to the nest. And then you have to wrestle with it and sync up with it. It's got all that stuff. The skill tree is all about using your little weird tentacle ponytail thing and connecting with Awa. And then there's this whole skill tree based on the planet healing you and all this stuff. And it just works really well. It is so much fun. It's a good use of a movie property. Like, we all lived through the really bad movie tie-in games, and this is not one of that. The only thing that I can really strike against this game is just that first person perspective. But when you play it, it's so much fun. Not your avatar, because you're not the character from the movie. You are a Na'vi. You are a native Na'vi. The story of the game is that you were abducted as a child by the humans, and you were raised to be kind of like a negotiating tool between the humans and the natives on the planet. And then you escape from the humans at the outset of it, and you are discovering Pandora for the first time because you didn't grow up there. and you are trying to find your heritage and your clan and discover your true roots as a Navi of Pandora. So it's got a really interesting storyline, and it works really well, and it's fun to play. It's just got these frustrating choices as far as how they make you play it. Other things that I really want to touch on is it's got a kind of a complicated control system, lots of weapons. You have to eat to keep your stamina up, not just your health, but like your stamina. So there's a cooking element in it, which means there's a lot of different button assignments. There's a lot of hold L1 and triangle, or hold, there's a lot of intricate shit that is easy to forget in the midst of a moment. If you're in a big firefight and you run out of stamina, you have to do a button combination to pull out a fruit and eat it to get your stamina up. So that can be kind of confusing. The thing that is the very best part of this game is that when you get your Banshee, you get to name it. And you get to name it much like the way you do in Ghost of Tsushima. It gives you some preset names that you can choose from. There's like a list of 12 because they're baked into the voice acting, right? You want your character to actually call your animal. So it's just like Ghost of Tsushima. And you've got all these really cool names like Storm Rider and Thunder and Mist and things, and Shadow and things like that. But then, for some fucking reason, the last option is Carol. Carol. Carol.
Okay.
And so, as we got our Banshee and we were looking at our name choices, Elliot and I looked at each other and we said, holy shit, we can name this giant dragon that we mind connect with Carol. And throughout the rest of the game, when you call for your Banshee, when you're fighting on a giant airship that's exploding because you fought all these mechs and soldiers and you're blowing shit up and you're restoring the world, and you jump and you're falling and you call out, Carol!
I think I'll call you Carol.
And Carol comes in and saves the day.
That's awesome.
And I don't understand it. It makes no sense. It has no right to be there, but goddamn do I love the fact that they let me name my dragon Carol. And so, Avatar, Game of the Year.
Nice.
It's really good. Honestly, I like this more than I liked the Assassin's Creed game that I played a couple months back. Like it's really good. It's not my preferred way to play. I don't like doing stuff in first person. It's unintuitive to me. Like, they have you climbing mountains and doing platforming and stuff, and that never feels good to me in first person. But like, it works. People like playing those games that way. So like, Antonio, I think you would really like this game, honestly. Are you a fan of this franchise?
So I don't know why the Avatar thing feels gross to me. I just don't know why. I like have an aversion to it, but it is undeniable how amazing it is visually. Like,
it is a weird mythos, right? Like, there's a lot of strange stuff in it. Yeah,
I think the Ferngully like retold thing kind of bothered me. Like, it's basically the same thing, like the nature thing and fighting corporations. But I went on the Avatar ride in Pandora in the Animal Kingdom in Disney, and it was like one of those experiences where you're in the huge seat and it's sights and smells and heat and cold, and it has you like going through the movie. And it was like, as soon as I was in that ride, I was like, damn, I forgot that this shit was cool. That Avatar is a cool IP. Because when you get out of there, then they have all this merch, and people were buying the shit out of that merch. They were like, they will scan your face and make an avatar of you, like the version of the doll of you, and all this stuff. And I wanted to buy shit, and I was like, let's go. And like, if you get the right experience, this franchise has legs. Like, I think it could really do what it's trying to do, and apparently it's already captivated people, based on the movies and all of that. It's just a shame, I think, the time that it's taking to build this, right? And like, great, we have a video game. When did Avatar 1 come out? Like, this is wild that this is happening. And then, you know, they're working on parts, whatever, 4, 5, whatever the hell is going on. But I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the movie tie-in thing that's keeping me from hitting the purchase button on this, because I even have game credit ready to go. And I'm like, should I play this? For whatever reason, it feels like it has interest cards stacked against it. But every recommendation's good. Everyone's like, good game. Good game. I feel like it's an Assassin's Creed Mirage thing, though, where it's like, yeah, pretty good. You know, like not like amazing, mind-blowing. I don't know. Maybe
I'll tell you what. Me personally, if this game was a third-person perspective, I'd have very little negative to say about it. That's my big hang-up. And if it is going to be in first person, if they really want to do that whole I'm in the world thing, this shit should be in VR. Full stop.
This shit should have a demo.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. Like, the world
I hear it won
amazing.
top graphics of the year by Digital Foundry, and they know what they're talking about.
It's incredible. But again, it is Pandora. It is Avatar. So there's like weird stuff. Like, there's creatures that just look. If you don't vibe with that aesthetic, it's a lot of blue and green, right? Like, it's a lot of weird plants and shit like that. But it's cool. Like, it's got a day-night cycle, so when everything gets dark, everything starts to glow like it does in the movie. It's really cool, and I get the idea that they want you to feel like you're there, because it is a world that, like you said, it's a visual experience. I watch these movies in 3D. I think that's the best way to watch them. Being in that world feels so cool. I just don't know if that was worth, for me, that wasn't really worth the gamble on that perspective. Mm-hmm. I think if this was like a Horizon kind of third person thing, I'd be enjoying it more. But as it stands, it's a really good game. I enjoy it a lot.
How is that Way of Water movie?
It's really good.
Didn't catch it yet. It's good.
It's super good. Disney Plus, watch it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Megadads Live. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video, and tell a friend. We'll see you next Friday for an all-new episode of Megadads Live.